Hi, welcome to today's Business Strategy Live, and today I'm going to be talking to Leigh Ashbee, who has several things that he does, but one of the things we're going to talk about mostly today is serviced accommodation and grandeur property. So Leigh, perhaps you'd like to tell us a little bit about what grandeur does.
Yeah, hi Steve. Firstly, thank you very much for inviting me on. It's really nice of you. I'm pleased to be here and perhaps share a little bit about serviced accommodation and what an incredible opportunity it is as a property investment. I've never really known anything quite like it in terms of returns that it gives you and all the benefits. Grandeur property is essentially a full management service where we will help our clients take their property or prospectively help them with an investment that they might want to choose to operate as serviced accommodation. And essentially what it is, serviced accommodation is, under the guise of HMRC, it's furnished holiday lets, essentially. But it's much more than that. It's not just holiday lets, because you've got a much bigger market than that. You've got your corporate market and your contractor market as well, which really will help you throughout the year, because people's perception of Airbnb, if you like, and this kind of thing, there are lots and lots of different online travel agents, not just Airbnb, as Booking.com, TripAdvisor, and so on and so on. But people's perception of it is that it's a very seasonal thing, and they think that specifically in Bournemouth as well, that it's only a leisure market. But it isn't that at all. There's a huge market for big companies here. All the regeneration that's going on in the area is huge, and so because of that as well, there's a lot of contractors that work here from outside the area as well, and of course they all need somewhere to stay. So it's a huge market. It's incredible. The demand for it, the increase in demand has changed massively as well. People realize now that they can perhaps book an apartment through these online travel agents, and it can be sometimes even cheaper than staying in a hotel room. And of course they've got a lot more space, they've got complete freedom to do what they want, they can cook for themselves, but it's essentially, it could be a studio flat, it could be a 2-bedroom flat, it could be a 3-4 bedroom house, it could be a 6-7 bedroom house. There's a market for every kind of property with serviced accommodation.
Can anybody who's got any residential landlords, can they just go straight into serviced accommodation? Are there any sort of barriers to getting started with it?
No, not really. The only barrier is the knowledge. Most people, I said, their perception is a traditional buy-to-let landlord, for example. If you've got a property, let's just say, for example, a 3-bedroom house, and you've been letting it out on a tenancy agreement to a family or something. Typically, if you were to take that same house and make sure that it looks great and it's all furnished very nicely, you could typically expect to get a 50 to 60% better return after all your costs than you would if it was on a tenancy agreement. Of course, that's a massive difference. So, and it's not everybody that realizes this. And what puts some people off is that they just think, oh, well, Airbnb is just about parties. And that's not the case at all. And if you've got a great management company, which I very much believe that we are, blowing the trumpet, but Grandeur Property, we set this up specifically to really create more time and money, which for me are the two really big things about property investment. You can run serviced accommodation yourself, but it is I'm not going to fool anybody, it's very time intensive. It takes a lot of hard work to do it properly, and to maximize your return, it takes a lot of hard work. And that's why we set up Grandeur Property, really, to just make it a completely hands-free service for property investors. And it works exceptionally well. Our clients just love it, to the point that they're buying more properties to give to us, because the returns allow them to do that. So it's a real win-win strategy. And then on top of that, you've got tremendous tax breaks, which of course, Steve, you know far more about, and
Yeah,
you
yeah,
help a lot of our clients with.
there are some massive advantages to doing serviced accommodation, which is basically furnished holiday lets, in that you can claim capital allowances, which can be a massive thing. That people can look at the assets that are within the building, the integral features and things like that, and claim those, which will have never been claimed if it was a residential building, because you can't claim them on residential lets. Also, another big one is clause 24. There was some legislation that came in a few years ago, which meant that landlords who let residential property couldn't reclaim all the interest, and we're still going through a phasing in of that at the moment. And for higher rate taxpayers, that's almost made some residential letting uneconomic if they own the properties individually. Whereas if you do serviced accommodation, furnished holiday lets, that doesn't apply. You can claim all of the interest back that you pay on your mortgage. So that's fantastic. Also, there are other breaks as well around holdover release and capital gain release and entrepreneurs release and things like that. If you sell the business on afterwards and stuff like that. So there are some huge tax advantages to doing serviced accommodation compared to normal buy-to-lets, HMOs, that kind of stuff. Normal residential lettings, not so good. If you own it personally, obviously people have been owning them in companies more recently. So there are some definite tax advantages to doing serviced accommodation. Absolutely.
Yeah, what we've found, it's about educating people, because it's just not something that people know about generally. But when you consider that you can get a 50 to 60% better return, that's without the tax breaks added in. It is absolutely crazy, why more people are not doing it. The demand is there as well. COVID has been, a really testing time for everybody, of course. But the flip side of it is that where everybody's been sort of trapped at home, if you like, in the prison of their home, no matter how nice your home is, you want to get away from it. And what we've seen is, since the Prime Minister opened the doors to say, okay, you can now go and book some accommodation away from home, we've just found the demand to be absolutely crazy. We're fully booked. All our properties are fully booked through July and into August. And we're literally getting inquiries by the minute. So the demand is huge, and I don't expect that to change anytime soon. And I would expect that it'll probably last through next year at least as well, because what people are worried about, actually, international travel, getting on aircraft, what the situation is going to be like in another country, and then possible quarantines as well. So it's hugely in demand at the moment.
Yeah, I think service accommodation is going to take off in a big way, particularly in Bournemouth. I mean, we know how popular Bournemouth is just from a few weeks ago when 500,000 people descended on us, which was unfortunate, but at the same time, it just shows the popularity of Bournemouth as a destination.
You know what, we're very, very lucky, aren't we, Steve, to live in this beautiful place. And we were talking earlier about the wider market with Bournemouth, and I think it's been a long time coming where we'll see that actually the prices here will remain really buoyant, and even if there is a national dip, I think we'll feel it less here in this area because of that. COVID has given people that time to kind of sit back and say, well, you know what, we can work from home, and do we really want to live in London or in the big cities and stuff, when we can go and live by the coast and and have the New Forest and Port Harbour and the countryside of North Dorset and everything else. It's incredible. And you know what, there's some fantastic value in areas in Bournemouth as well. It's not, people's perception of perhaps is Camphor Cliffs and Sandbanks, it's hugely expensive here. Of course, there are those little hot spots, but there are plenty of places as well where property is still a tremendous value here, not only as an investment, but as somewhere that you want to live as well.
Are there places people, when they come to stay, do they really just want stuff that is based on the coast? So are we looking at stuff that's really very close to the sea to use for service accommodation, or are people interested in pretty much any property in Bournemouth would be suitable for service accommodation?
Yeah, it's a really good question, Steve. It's interesting because everybody will want to prefer to be by the sea, but everybody's got a price point. Yeah, so it's interesting that we do find that some of the properties that are not close to the sea or not within a mile or two to the sea, and are further perhaps north and away, will still rent, but they won't demand the same kind of money, and perhaps their occupancies won't be quite as high. So if you're looking for a serviced accommodation property investment, my advice is to look for somewhere which is closer to the coast. So we've got some properties that we're about to take on Southbourne Overcliff, and we know that they'll absolutely fly. They've got sea views, and just as you expect, there's a premium to that price of property when you've got sea views. So it's all kind of relative. Where you might pay considerably less for a property that's a couple of miles away, from the actual coast itself, your return is probably going to be slightly less. So it's something to bear in mind, but it's all relative to the position and the demand and everything with property.
And as a landlord, if I came to you and said, I want you to look after my property, do you do absolutely everything? Everything, the cleaning, the changing the towels, the everything? I don't have to, I can just hand everything to you and do nothing, just take the money.
That's it. That is exactly it in a nutshell, Steve. I spotted, I've got years and years in customer service. I worked with British Airways for like 30 years, and I've also been involved in property, and it's a really nice kind of crossover that just fits very well for me and the service that we offer. Time and money, as I said before, is absolutely everything. There are many people out there that are very busy in their lives with their families and with their jobs, but maybe looking to supplement their income via a property investment. And the great thing about this is exactly that. You've got far greater returns than you would with a buy-to-let, or even indeed a house of multiple occupancy. The returns are fantastic. The tax breaks are incredible as well, and you don't have to do a thing. We've set up Grandeur Property Management as literally a full management service, so we can even help you with the design of your property, if it's existing, or if it's a property that you're looking at that you might be considering purchasing for this. We're very, very happy to just give you some guidance and help you completely free of charge as to whether it would be suitable. We can do a feasibility study, which is very in-depth, great detail of what you could realistically expect to earn from a property, any given property that you want to share with us, and we do all that free of charge. So if you've got something that you're thinking of perhaps purchasing, or you've got an existing property that you think it's possible that it could work, or it's not doing a great return for you, then please just give me a shout. I'll be more than happy to run through it with you. As I said, we go through it in great detail, and I think you'll be really pleasantly surprised. It's a golden opportunity that lies there with serviced accommodation at the moment. The demand, I said, has been increasing for years, and I do not see that changing. So it's a beautiful business, because I'm really, really happy to be involved in that, which is a win-win for everybody. It's really helping people. Our existing clients, as I said, are really delighted. And I know that can be the same for anybody out there too. So just give me a shout, and I'll be really pleased to help. No obligation whatsoever.
Do you organise the bookings as well? So if you were a landlord, would you have to go on to and sort out with Airbnb and bookings.com and stuff like that yourself, or is that part of your service as well?
Yeah, quite literally, we take care of everything. We take the property, we give you the keys to your way. All our recommendations about what you need to do it to maximise the real potential for it to get. The way we look at it, if you have a premium property, you're going to get a premium guest and you're going to get a premium return. And that really, really works. We won't take on a property for somebody if it's not looking nice. We just won't do it. We'll say, gladly go and manage it yourself and see how you get on. But believe me, if you will invest a bit of money to make your property look fantastic, it will literally fly. It will return that money back to you very, very quickly, and we know this from experience. So yeah, my advice to anybody, if you want to do it yourself, absolutely fantastic, but it does take a lot of time.
Yeah. And does the landlord need to get some special insurances and things like that in place to do this, or will normal landlord insurance cover this, or?
Yeah. We always recommend that you get specific insurance for this. It's very competitive out there what you can get, and we can certainly put you in touch with the right broker to assist you with that. But yeah, we do recommend that you get the correct insurance always for any property type and what it's being used for. So yes, you would. The answer to that is a very simple yes. In terms of insurance, but as you know, Steve, I host Progressive Property Network Bournemouth. I've got an incredible network of professionals down here, including yourself, Steve. And it's a real pleasure to just be able to point people in the right direction for professional services and people that can help them and assist them as well. Going back to your question, which you asked about the online travel agents, people's perception again is Airbnb. Well, we list on 14 different online travel agents, and we do all that. It takes a lot of time and processing and uploading your property to all those, but of course it gives you far greater reach as well. And we really maximize the potential that you've got for your property, through our relationships with corporates and contractors, through the leisure market as well that we've got. With the only people that are listed on Plum Guide, which is a very high-end online travel agent for properties here in Bournemouth and Poole, which is fantastic. And I think it's perhaps testament to the great work that we're doing and the real high standard of properties that we've got.
Yeah, no, that's I didn't even know there was 14 different places you could look. I mean, I'm sure the internet is full of many places where you can book online and things like that, but that's to maintain those for people, that's pretty incredible too, because it's really hard to keep that accurate and know when there are spaces and people can book and things like that. Otherwise, if you're not careful, you end up with double bookings and all sorts of things going wrong, don't you? So it's managing that, it's really important. Again,
of course, we manage all that. We have special software which effectively it will not allow that to happen. Once a booking goes in place, it does it absolutely instantaneously across all those online travel agents. So it's very, very clever. This software will it change your rate depending what the demand is, much like you've probably experienced from booking a flight, perhaps, where you look one day and it costs X amount, and the next day it's double, and then the next day it might halve again. You just know it seems to be no rhyme or reason, but it's very, very clever software that does this.
Yeah.
And it works on the what's actually happening and the demand and the bookings that are taking place across all those portals.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic that you do all those things. That's incredible. And as you sort of touched on, PPN, I think are the biggest property trainer in Britain or something, aren't they? Is that anybody else?
Progressive Property Network, which is what we host at the meeting down here in Bournemouth, which of course you're a Diamond member, Steve. It's affiliated, basically it stems from Progressive Property. They're based in Peterborough, and they're the biggest property training company in the UK. And it's not just property as well. There's Unlimited Success as well as another part of the business as well, which they really help people, with things like Amazon and all sorts. And I've known Rob and Mark, the founders of Progressive, for 11 years now. They've been absolutely incredible, and I know that they've helped, so many people, literally thousands and thousands of people.
It's incredible.
Quite literally change their lives. Yeah, so it's fantastic. I think they offer incredible value for money. They give away so much for free, really nurture and help people to get more involved in property and, create more income streams.
I know the VPN group that we have locally in Bournemouth with you, you've managed to put on some incredible events with some fantastic speakers. I don't know how you manage to do it sometimes, because it's quite a lot to do that on a monthly basis and create the enthusiasm and the demand that you managed to do. I'm amazed at how you managed to do it. You do a great job.
You know what, Steve? That's very kind of you. Thank you very much. But I genuinely really enjoy it. I love helping people. I love helping seeing people doing well, and every time somebody comes back where they've met somebody months before at one of our events and stuff, and then they're starting to do a joint venture together, or they've met a professional service there, or whatever it might be, it just fills me with joy. I absolutely love it. And it doesn't feel like work to me at all. And again, having grandeur and what we're doing, and the number of people that we're helping to literally change their lives, give them back that time, and give them more money. It's an absolute pleasure, and everybody wins. It's great. Our business is doing fantastically well, but we only make money if you make money. So we work incredibly hard to make sure that you do. And we've got clients that were managing the properties themselves and think they were doing okay, and actually it got a bit much time-wise. They handed it over to us, and even paying us, they're doing far better than they were doing on their own. So you know what, if you're doing that, give us the opportunity, just give us a try. And if we can't do that, then take it back, But because of the, all the relationships that we've built, because of the way that we set ourselves up as a business, it really, really does help you. We've got superhost status. Perhaps when you go to book somewhere online, very much the reviews are incredibly important. We work really hard to make sure that our customers are really well looked after, so they give a really positive review. All that, it's like a snowball. It's the best analogy I can kind of give. You get this opportunity to start pushing that snowball with your property. And it's really important that you get off to the best start, and it just grows because the reviews are fantastic, and people, and then you can even push your rates up as well. So it works very, very well, and you get, of course, repeat business. People come back to you if they've had a great stay. They'll book and come back with you later in the year or next year as well.
The other thing I've always admired and been impressed by with you is your ethics, your business ethics, and that lots of people think that in property and development and things like that it's all about ripping somebody off, making money at somebody else's expense. But your stance has always been one of treating people fairly and properly, and everybody making something out of the deal, rather than just trying to make a quick buck at somebody else's expense. So I've always admired you for that stance, Leigh. It's something that really comes out when you do PPN and the things that you do. I know that. So
yeah, thank you, Steve. That means a lot to me as well. I guess I can only thank my parents for that. Just brought up that way. Genuinely, my mum and dad are amazing people, and I owe them everything. And there are sharks out there in the property world. They're not welcome at the network that I host. There is always room for everybody to do well, and I think that's really, really important. So my moral and ethical standpoint is very important to me. Thanks for recognizing, Steve. That means a lot to me.
Just one other point on properties. Would you work with anybody anywhere in the country, or are you only really working with people that are locally based?
Okay, yeah, as you can imagine, in order to actually operate a business like this, you need to know your area exceptionally well. You need to have great relationships with the people that you're working with. Of course, we work with an excellent cleaning team, Kirsty. They just do a fantastic job. And we did do this. We operated a couple of properties in London, and we were relying very much on people at a distance. And yes, it worked, but we decided, actually, do you know what? Bournemouth, Poole, Christchurch is a huge area anyway.
It is.
And so we just decided to focus completely here. So at least for the time being, we are growing rapidly, and it's been a joy. And we've had our challenges of growing as well, but it's fantastic. We haven't dropped our standards at all. If not, we've improved them with systems. And our intention is to stay here for the foreseeable future. And just so if people have got properties from outside the area, my answer to that question is, Steve, we'd be very happy to help, but we can't actually manage them for you. So we, our area is literally BCP, Bournemouth, Christchurch and Poole.
Yeah. But I think that's probably a good thing as well, because as you say, it's really hard to work across the country in areas you don't really know. It's all right to give advice, but it's managing them on a regular basis is difficult unless you've got a whole concentration in a specific area, probably. So yeah, that's good.
Yeah, what we'd like to do, Steve, there are other service accommodation management companies here. But we've got a very clear vision of where we want to be, and in terms of the service that we deliver to our clients and our customers. And I know it's very easy to say, but it's hugely important to me that we do that in the right way. And our vision is to be the go-to people here for what we offer. And we are on track to do that, so we'll continue to grow.
No, that's fantastic, and I know you're doing a brilliant job, and I only ever hear good things about you, Leigh, so you're doing well. That's good.
Thank you, Steve.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's probably enough for today's interview. Thank you very much for coming on and talking to us.
Hey,
And
Steve, it's my absolute pleasure. It really
I'm
is.
just going to draw it to a conclusion, and if anybody wants to get in touch with you, of course, your details have been going across the bottom of the screen, and they'll be there even on the recordings and stuff like that. So anybody on it should know how to get in touch. And I hope that people with looking to do service accommodation will give you a call. That'd be great.
Absolutely. Always happy to help. Steve, thank you so much. It's been really good to see you today, as always. Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks, Leigh. Thanks.
Bye-bye.